Welcome to today's collective reading. This is TrinityGaiaOracle. I want to emphasize this. Anubis is very present, and from the title of this reading, with those scales, yeah, it's not coincidence. Anubis is making his presence known. So I'm going to open, before I begin fully into the reading, with some sound resonance. So if you're sensitive to loud noise, just kind of give me a couple of seconds here. All right. And I don't know if I showed this, but it has the flower of life on it. So it's creating that. And that tone is the 384, I think 384. So it's a note of G. So just really elevating the energy here. Judgment has been finalized. It's been in process. It's been in process, but now the decision has been made with full confidence that all the information has been present. So as a collective, you guys, no matter when you did this, at what point, the moment you had this moment, you joined everyone else in this collective that had this moment too. And you called for judgment. And you called for judgment with a calm heart. Not one filled with hatred or resentment, but just a knowing that what was done was wrong. And you know that when you call for the divine to investigate and pass judgment, that every facet of the divine is going to be brought to in order to really look at everything. No stone is left unturned. And that's why it's been waiting and waiting and waiting. Partly because there are a lot of other factors in play that needed to fully get to that point where they were ready for you to reach that moment where your heart broke. But it didn't break in the essence of like counterpart. It broke in the essence of, this is such an injustice, and I don't understand why you don't intervene, why you're allowing it to happen. And it just brings me right back to you have to ask. But the power that you expressed that in wasn't just like, an everyday kind of thing. Like, it wasn't like your nightly prayer, what am I hearing? There's that prayer that we teach our children as they lay down to go to bed, to just like, what is that prayer? Pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Like, it's not like a daily thing like that. This is like a once in a lifetime, possibly once in many lifetimes kind of prayer. Because it wasn't just a prayer with one aspect of your being. It was all of you. It was so deep. And it was heard. It was heard in the heavens. And that Clarion call, that warning, that wake-up call, that it is time for change, was something that could not be ignored. Can you imagine, like, some of you, maybe you have been in the Navy, and you've been on one of those boats when that alarm goes off, that most of the average population only gets to go, oh my gosh, that's a really annoying alarm clock to wake up to. But it's felt through your whole being. It's in the vibration in your bones, in your teeth. The focus that comes in, it's time. It's time to know the full truth. We get the other side. We get everything that we knew we needed the information for to move forward, but couldn't access until this information came through. In that Clarion call, this energy, this is kind of a melding of the two collectives I thought I was reading for. You're actually one. You're one. The ones that are labeled, especially recently, divine masculine, divine feminine, looking into those deep soul connections and past life connections. That is the two of you coming closer and closer to union, that I am getting those downloads to read for that connection. The other readings are more about your unique path and your higher selves trying to reach you, trying to help you find the right questions to ask yourself. That's why it sounds so like teacher-ish. is like we need to understand is what I'm like, even channeling it or doing the reading. I'm like, this feels so like, why aren't you hearing me? Now I understand why. So there may be so much in the content leading up to now, especially in the last couple months. Number synchronicity 919, which coming into this reading was 911. Change. Alarms. It's time for change. That Clarion call. You're heard. It's ascension. It's elevating this information that all of your souls, when they reach this moment together, you joined that. And there may still be more that join that, and they'll encounter this reading or they'll encounter you because you're a leader. The collective reading I did it was really a channeling. And I titled it with 144 in it. I was a little intimidated by that, to be honest with you. But I knew that the collective that I was tapping into in that moment, that channeling was for, I was being a mirror for healers of the soul. And you can't be a healer of the soul if you haven't been through the fire. If you haven't risen again and again and again and again. I do want to say that channeling was very intense, and it's probably the most powerful thing I've ever done, and I really put myself out of it. So that was purely, that wasn't me that was coming through there. That was me being a channel for what was needed. Because we do stand apart. We are different. We are awake. And we look around us, people are asleep. And we're aware when we encounter them that we're quantum. We can see the timelines. And we know if we say this, it opens other timelines and closes other timelines. For them, it is a responsibility. It is a weight. It is the crown. The knowledge has weight and it has responsibility. This judgment, you're not just crowned. You're celebrated and you mourn with the divine because you love the divine. And I say mourn because those that sought to deceive even the divine, they were presenting it as though they were in a play and they were playing the role of the villain. That's all they were doing. I'm just doing my part. This is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know why they're so upset. No, they were actually trying to be the villain. They weren't just playing the role. They were actively doing the role. And they hid it behind, well, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, isn't it? They were actually trying to take you out. And the silly thing is they could never be you. Ever. And the ridiculous thing is they are a unique facet of the divine. They have their own beautiful destiny if only if they value the light that existed within them. If they nurtured it, if they fed it. And it's why they come to you. Because you know who you are. And because of that, their light is stronger. But they keep blowing it out and blowing it out and blowing it out. Now the divine knows everything. All the facets of the divine know. Because as a collective soul, that moment that your heart broke, you didn't just have the faith of a mustard seed. Your mustard seed was added to everyone else's mustard seed in that collective call, and you became a mountain of faith. And when a mountain of faith collectively cries out, I love you, why don't you intervene? Why don't you see? Why don't you stop this? I don't know. That pain, that heartbreak, because you do love Source. And you just didn't understand. Because you always choose love. That mountain moved the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. It didn't just create a miracle, it created a whole new world. And it collapsed so many timelines. And yeah, the opponent, if you will, this person, this energy, these entities, these beings, because it's a whole bunch. Like that concept of like, it's beyond what we're aware of here. That's why there's so much love for the divine, because you know the divine is your armor and your shield, your helm and your sandals, and like you know that the divine, that love is your strength. You never want to be without it. There's so many battles that the divine fights for us that we don't even know about because we're here on a mission. We're meant to focus here. And this collective cry, so much information was felt, resonated, downloaded, uploaded, sideways loaded, like whatever you want to call that, because the word is just not enough. The light in that, all the information of every moment of your life was experienced from your perspective in that moment. Your truth. You were being weighed and judged too. That's why the decision is final. That's why it's here. It's why it's in the physical. It's why it's so certain. And with the mourning, it's the hurt that those that were meant to play just a role were actually embodying, fully using it as cover to try to do the very thing you were only supposed to be playing a role at. There's hurt in the divine for that. So I know there's been a lot of channel here, a lot of talk, a lot of just heart to heart kind of communication here. From one person to another going through these things. And I'd like you to feel like that, like we're having a conversation, that you're a part of this, that you're co-creating this, because you are. You are. You're very much a part of this. And I want to extend gratitude to every person who owns that they watch. Because I'm not oblivious. I know there's ways that you can watch content and it not register and then not get credit. And you have your reasons for that. Because you're called to protect yourself. And I do not hold that against you. And I do want to acknowledge those that had the courage to own that they did watch. And for those that liked and those that commented, thank you for shining your light, for sharing your truth, for sharing your love with the world, for being that ripple that contributed to others being able to feel more like their light can shine too. Thank you for sharing your love. Thank you. Now, I don't know, but I do want to definitely emphasize that Psalms 91, it is a very powerful prayer, and you may find yourself reading the scripture and doing this prayer over and over and over at different times in your life. And every time it'll feel a little different, and there's going to be one time, like right now, if you have done this, if you have reached this point where you've asked for judgment in this calm, grounded voice, in this calm, grounded, like compassionate energy for the divine, because you know that what the divine will find here may hurt. So often, we relate, or we're taught to relate to the divine, and, I ask for this, and thanks, and then you just go on with being distracted. The divine is talking to us all the time, but we don't necessarily have the knowledge or the eyes or the ears to hear, to see, to sense. This collective, you guys have been born more aware. Before you have the language, you have memories before most people are supposed to be able to form them, and you can still recall them. And sometimes in incredible detail. And if you look at the people that come to you, like, yeah, they're karmic, yeah, but karmic isn't necessarily bad. They're lost. They're not awake. They don't understand why they're suffering. And when they talk to you, their soul knows you know. They recognize the wisdom, the strength, the ancient energy, the profound depth. Their soul is crying out to help, and yet you are aware they're asleep to this. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. You have inherited that crown, and this judgment is you're going to be able to be even more aware than ever before. And not just aware, you're going to be able to heal, help, aid, always, always with consent, but it's through your choice to show up. And as you move closer into union with your counterpart, it's going to become even more apparent and stronger. And maybe that union isn't necessarily in the physical yet. Maybe there's healing that still needs to happen. Maybe there's people around them that they couldn't heal until now, until you became aware of this, until you took the crown off of that villain that it didn't belong to and reclaimed your birthright. And you did this with, I know that when you look into all of my being and my awareness and my experience and my consciousness, that I have always chosen love. I have nothing to hide. You knew that. And you know that you're at that, yeah. I'm just so humbled by the love in this message and the shift in the collective. And I want you to know that you're heard. The divine needs you to know that you're heard. That you haven't only mastered this lesson, you've ascended beyond it. stood out to me when I encountered this concept earlier at some point, that number 33 is mastery. Okay, but you're number 34. What does that mean? That means you're creating the new world with the divine, and you're aware of the weight of that crown. There's also a synchronicity right now with manifestation using 369. Tesla has a lot of material on that. And I mean like Nikolai Tesla. I think it's Nikolai. Yeah. Nikolai. I don't know. Maybe only the people closest to him would call him Nikolai. I'm not sure why that came through, but you're incredibly powerful in your humbleness, in your heart. Thank you for being the light that you are. The divine within me honors and sees the divine within you. Namaste.